The distant rumble of construction from the restaurant down the street filtered into my Pittsburgh kitchen, blending with the clink of my coffee mug on the counter. I clutched my phone, my voice sharp as it echoed off the tiled walls. But, Mom, you said Easter brunch was already booked. We've been planning it for weeks. Plans changed, Danielle. Her voice crackled through the speaker, clipped and final, like a door slamming shut. The restaurant's under construction. Maybe we'll do something small next month. I froze, the words sinking in. My name is Danielle Holloway, 36, an environmental consultant at Amberlin Ventures. I spend my days auditing industrial sites, crunching numbers on carbon emissions, making decent money in a city that hums with steel and ambition. But to my family, I'm a shadow, a footnote they've long stopped reading. For as long as I can remember, they've woven their lives around me. Their schedule's a tapestry that never includes my thread. Understood, I said, the word a reflex, bitter as bile. I hung up. Catching my reflection in the kitchen window, brown eyes dulled by resignation, shoulders slumped under the weight of another dismissal. When had I become so small, so easy to erase? The construction excuse didn't sit right. April was an odd time for renovations, and Mom's tone had been too quick, too rehearsed. I'd learned not to question the family narrative. It was easier to nod, to fade. But this time, a flicker of skepticism sparked in my chest, sharp and unfamiliar. I pushed it down, texting my friends Jules and Brooke instead. They, at least, wanted me around. As I typed, a nagging sensation crept up my spine, the same one I got when spotting a hidden error in a spreadsheet. Something was wrong, but I couldn't pin it down. Not yet. I glanced at the family photo on my fridge. Mom, Dad, my sister Harper, all smiles at last year's Easter brunch. I'd been there. In a lavender dress no one noticed. The memory stung, but I shoved it aside. Easter was canceled. That was the story, and I'd play along. For now, Sunday morning, I stood in my bathroom, mascara wand trembling as I painted on a brave face. Easter had always been sacred in our family, a tradition carved by my grandmother's hands, matching pastel outfits, her famous hot cross buns. The clink of champagne flutes under spring sunlight. Last year, I'd worn lavender, blending into the background while Harper, in jeans, soaked up compliments. The year before, green, same story. I was the invisible guest, present but unseen. You're overthinking, I told my reflection, but the hollow ache in my chest wouldn't budge. My cousin Katie, my only ally, had gone silent. Usually, she'd text me about cancellations, suggest we grab coffee to soften the blow. Her quiet felt like a warning, a crack in our fragile alliance. I remembered last Thanksgiving, when Aunt Patricia vaguely asked if I was still doing that environmental thing. Katie had jumped in, her voice warm. She audits major companies, and Pat. It's important work. Mom had nodded absently, then pivoted to Harper's latest interior design project, a loft for some tech mogul. My phone buzzed. Jules and Brooke confirming brunch at North Peak Grill. I slipped into a soft blue dress, the color of a sky I wished I could escape into. This was better, I told myself. No forced small talk, no competing with Harper's spotlight. Just mimosas and friends who saw me. But as I grabbed my keys, I noticed the family group chat on my phone. 3 months ago, they'd removed me, claiming it was for the holiday committee. A smaller group, they said. Everyone was in it. Mom, Dad, Harper, Katie, even the neighbors, everyone but me. The exclusion wasn't new, but it cut deeper now, a wound I couldn't ignore. I drove to North Peak Grill, the city blurring past, my mind replaying Mom's voice. Construction. The word felt like a lie, but I had no proof. Not yet. I parked, forcing a smile as I walked into the restaurant, determined to salvage the day. North Peak Grill hummed with Easter energy, families in pastel sweaters, kids clutching baskets. The air thick with laughter and cinnamon. Jules, from yoga, and Brooke, from the environmental board, greeted me with hugs that felt like anchors. We settled at a sunny table, mimosas glinting like liquid gold. So, your family canceled? Jules asked, stirring her drink, her eyes curious but gentle. Construction, I said, the lie sour on my tongue. Brooke raised an eyebrow, her analytical mind clicking. In April? That's odd timing for renovations. Right. I shrugged, deflecting, but her words fed the doubt I'd been suppressing. Mid-sentence, my phone lit up, a notification from Katie in the family group chat I wasn't supposed to see. My heart lurched. She never messaged there carelessly. Best private dining room ever. The text read, followed by a string of photos. I opened them, my breath catching. Goldspur Collective's private room, walls gleaming with Easter decorations, bunnies, lilies, pastel streamers. Mom sat at the head, her pearl earrings catching the light. Dad in his Sunday suit, laughing. Harper, poised in cream silk, radiant as ever. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even the Johnsons from next door, all gathered around a massive table set with fine china and Grandma's hot cross buns, the ones she didn't have time to make this year. Pastel napkins, folded just so. And there, between Uncle Tom and Aunt Susan, an empty place setting, a silent mockery of my absence. My hands shook as I scrolled, each photo a fresh cut. Jules noticed, her voice soft. "Danny, you okay?" "Fine," I managed, my voice thick, fingers moving on autopilot to screenshot each image before Katie could delete them. Her next message popped up. "Sorry, wrong group." Too late. The truth stared back. Undeniable, a carefully orchestrated lie to keep me away. Not just exclusion, but deception, deliberate and cruel. I set my phone down, my mimosa trembling in my grip. Inside, something snapped, not with a scream, but with a quiet, dangerous resolve. The weeks after Easter were a slow torture. My family carried on as if nothing had happened. Mom called once, her voice sharp, to criticize my distance lately, never mentioning the holiday. Harper texted a selfie from her new apartment, all curated throw pillows and no hint of the gathering. Katie stayed silent, her guilt palpable even through the void. I threw myself into work at Amberlin Ventures, auditing environmental compliance reports. But my mind kept drifting to those screenshots, saved in a folder I'd named Project Family Reunion. They were evidence, ammunition, though I didn't know how I'd use them yet. At work, my boss Preston caught my distraction during a meeting. "Everything okay, Danielle? You're not yourself." "Just family stuff," I said, my voice barely steady. He nodded, his kindness piercing. "Family can be complicated. Take care of yourself." His words nearly broke me. Why couldn't my family offer that basic warmth? In the office bathroom, I pulled out my phone, staring at the Easter photos again. The worst part wasn't the exclusion. It was being erased so thoroughly that Katie could accidentally send me proof of their lie. I wasn't just invisible. I was expendable. 2 weeks later, my phone rang on a Saturday morning, an unknown Pittsburgh number. My heart raced as I answered. "Danielle, it's Aunt Patricia," her voice breezy, as if we'd spoken yesterday. "We're planning Memorial Day lunch at the Hollowgate Club. You'll come, right? 1 o'clock. Don't be late like last time." The words hit like a slap. Last time? I hadn't been invited to Memorial Day in 3 years. The Hollowgate Club was the family's gilded stage for weddings, graduations, milestones, events I was never part of. This felt like a trap. A test tied to Katie's Easter mistake. Were they checking if I knew? My hands trembled as I stared at the phone. Whatever this was, I'd walk into it with my eyes open. Memorial Day dawned with perfect weather, a cruel contrast to the storm in my chest. I chose a navy dress, elegant but understated, a shield against their judgment, and drove to the Hollowgate Club. The circular driveway was packed with familiar cars, Harper's sleek BMW, Uncle Tom's Lexus, even the Johnsons' minivan. My stomach churned as I parked in the back lot, feeling like an intruder despite the invitation. The hostess greeted me warmly. "Holloway party, this way." The private dining room was a vision of opulence, crystal chandeliers, oil paintings. A massive table where my family sat. Mom's eyes flicked over me, dismissive, before returning to Aunt Patricia. Harper offered a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Only Katie stood, hugging me tightly. "You made it," she whispered. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Of course she came," Mom said, her voice cold as marble. "She's family." The word hung like a challenge. Dad nodded absently, already deep in a golf story with Uncle Tom. I took the empty seat between Katie and Grandpa, who patted my hand. "Good to see you, Danielle. Don't come around enough." "No," I said quietly, "I don't." Lunch was a performance. Conversations about Harper's latest triumph, a lake house for a millionaire, swirled around me. When Harper mentioned sustainable materials, all eyes turned to me, the environmental consultant, their expressions a mix of pity and condescension. I started to speak, but Mom cut in. "Let's not bore everyone with work talk." This is family time. Family time. The Easter photos burned in my mind, the private dining room, the pastel napkins, my empty place setting. My fingers grazed my phone in my lap. The screenshot's a heartbeat away. Uncle Tom's phone rang, slicing through the tension. He stepped out, returning with news that shifted the room. Cousin Robert's wedding needs a new host. His fiancée's parents backed out. Mom sighed, dramatic as ever. We're already hosting the summer garden party. That's enough for one season, unless we combine them, and Patricia said slowly. A grand celebration, like a family reunion. Reunion. My voice cracked, betraying my nerves. Not exactly, Mom said too quickly. But with the house full, space will be tight. The subtext was clear, that exclude me again. This lunch was a test to see if I'd quietly retreat before the real event. But I was done retreating. I smiled, my voice steady. That sounds incredible. I'd love to help plan it. The shock was electric. Mom's eyebrows shot up. Help plan? I've organized environmental conferences, I said, heart pounding. Venues. Catering, logistics. I could make sure everyone feels included. The word landed like a grenade. Uncle Tom coughed into his napkin. Patricia stared at her plate. Katie, guilt in her eyes, spoke up. Danielle could handle sustainability. Robert's fiancée, Marissa, wants everything eco-friendly. Mom's lips thinned, but she couldn't argue without looking petty. We'll discuss, she said tightly. I excused myself to the restroom, the ornate powder room a stark contrast to my churning emotions. Staring at my reflection, pale, eyes blazing, I pulled out my phone. Scrolling through the Easter photos. They were my leverage, my proof. I just had to play this carefully. As lunch ended, I stood, my voice calm. Thank you for including me today. Mom blinked. Caught off guard, Katie walked me to the door, gripping my arm. I'm so sorry about Easter, she whispered. I should have told you. Some secrets come out, I said, my warning soft but pointed. She looked stricken, understanding my meaning. That night, a text from an unknown number. This is Marissa, Robert's fiancée. Katie gave me your number. I'd love to discuss sustainable options for the wedding. The cruelty was almost elegant. They'd have me plan an event they'd likely uninvite me from. But they'd underestimated me. I drafted a proposal that night, comprehensive environmental assessments, carbon-neutral vendors, cost-saving sustainability tiers. I made myself indispensable. The Easter screenshots my silent insurance. The first planning meeting was at Mom's house. I arrived with portfolios and a laptop, my professionalism a shield. Mom answered the door. Her smile strained. Danielle, prompt as always. The family gathering committee, Mom, Harper, Aunt Patricia, Uncle Tom, sat in the living room, their discomfort palpable. I spread out my plans. 3 sustainability tiers. The Platinum package reduces long-term costs and aligns with Marissa's vision. Mom studied the documents, reluctant. This is thorough. It is, I said. Swiping through work photos on my phone, the screenshots a tap away. Marissa will appreciate it. I've documented similar projects at Amberlin. Mom's eyes sharpened, catching my gesture. We'll review these, she said quickly. I'm sure you're busy. Actually, I cleared my schedule, I said, gathering my papers. Marissa and I have a call Monday to finalize details. She trusts my judgment. Marissa and I developed a genuine rapport over weeks of planning. She wasn't just eco-conscious, she was kind. Her warmth a stark contrast to my family's chill. During a video call about catering, she said, Katie mentioned you're not involved much with family stuff. That's wild, you're so organized. Her words hit a nerve. I made a choice. There's something you should know. I turned my laptop, showing the Easter photos. This was the canceled brunch my mom said was off due to construction. Marissa's face shifted from confusion to fury as I scrolled through the images. Mom's pearls, Harper's silk, the empty place setting. They lied to exclude you? That's unconscionable. She paused. Eyes narrowing. Robert and I are pitching your expertise for a Pittsburgh Environmental Magazine article. Your name, front and center. A slow smile spread across my face. That sounds perfect. That evening, Marissa told Robert. By morning, he'd called every family member, livid. My phone exploded with messages. Katie's tearful apologies, Uncle Tom's, we need to talk. Harper's, Mom's freaking out. Robert might cancel everything. Mom's text was the most satisfying. We need to discuss this family situation. Privately, I stood in my Pittsburgh kitchen. The same place where this all began. watching my family's carefully built facade crumble through voicemails and texts. The Easter screenshots, once a wound that made me feel invisible, were now my clarity, my power. I wasn't the forgotten daughter they could erase. I was the woman who'd found her voice and made them hear it. The next day, I met Marissa for coffee. A new ritual we'd started. "Robert's still furious," she said, stirring her latte. "He's talking about scaling back the wedding if your family doesn't make this right. Let them figure it out." I said, calmer than I felt. "I'm done carrying their guilt." She grinned. "You're tougher than they realize." Back home, I opened my laptop, drafting the magazine article outline. My name would be there, tied to a project that showcased my expertise, not their cruelty. The screenshots sat in their folder, no longer just evidence but a reminder. I'd built a future where I wasn't invisible. As my phone buzzed with another message from Mom, "Please, Danielle, let's talk." I set it down, unhurried. For the first time, I held the cards. And I wasn't folding.